Hello there guys, now welcome again to another up to the time tutorial. Today we'll be looking at tangents. We'll be looking at creating this light bulb that you see to the right on your screen. Let me just open it and let's have a read. Now first thing, this question was taken from the CXC paper 2007 to be exact, and the question asks, is the figure above shows the outline of a light bulb. Reproduce the figure showing clearly the construction methods used for obtaining the center of the arcs required. Identify clearly the method of obtaining all points of tangency. So straight away, this question tells me that I'm going to be working with circles connecting to circles, forming tangent points. Okay, now I'm going to just do that, minimize that. And I have my AutoCAD over here on my left, and I have my instructions on my right. Please take note of this screen layout. So first thing, now I'm in AutoCAD. What I'm going to do is make sure that I'm on my construction layer. Yes, I'm on my construction layer. So I can start drawing. I'm going to draw a line. So I'm going to hit L to call up my line tool, then hit enter to activate the command, and I'm just going to draw a line. But first thing, I need to make sure that my ortho is on. My ortho is down here. You can select it, or you can hit the hotkey F8. So my ortho is on it. Just draw a line. It doesn't have to be any specific length, because I'm going to start offsetting my distances, and I'm going to offset from the left. So I'm going to offset this distance here that I'm hovering, which is 80 millimeters. So I'm just going to choose a random point where to start. Good, so that's where I'm starting, and then I'm going to offset that 80 millimeters in. Just 80, and I use the offset tool to achieve that. Again, I'm going to offset 40 millimeters in. So I'm going to hit O for offset. Offset tool is highlighted at the top, and I hit enter to activate, and I'm going to change from 80 to 40 by typing in 40. Enter. Good. Now that we got that, I am going to change this line that I have here, which is my first line. I'm going to put that over into my center layer, because ideally that is the center of our drawing, as you can see here highlighted. So I'm just going to switch that over to my center layer at this time before I continue drawing. But I'm still going to be continuing on my construction layer. Now the next thing we need to do, I'm going to start by placing in this circle here. This circle is 40 millimeters radius. So I'm going to come to my first point, and I'm going to place that circle in at 40 millimeters radius by pressing C to select the circle command, and then hit enter. The circle command is highlighted at the top. Hit enter, and I just specify the point that I want to start. Then I'm going to open my compass, then type in 40, and then hit enter. Okay, good. That's my 40 millimeters there. I'm going to escape to get out of that command. Now, what I think I need to do is I need to offset from here, this center line, 20 above and then 20 below, because this distance is 40. So I'm going to do that. Offset my center line, 20 above and then 20 below. And I'm going to change these two lines that I've just drawn, I've just created with my offset tool, to construction line. Yeah, I'm going to change them. So I have actually selected both of them, but I don't know, I was only able to achieve the change of one line. So I'm going to select the other line, and then I'm going to match, drop the property. So I'm going to hit MA to select the match drop tool. All right. Then I'm going to select the source, which is this yellow layer, and then apply it to the bottom line. Then once I've done, I'm hit enter to close that command or escape. Now, so we got this thing. We now need to do our mathematical calculations to put in 35 millimeter radius right here. And we also need to put in our 17 millimeter radius, which is this arc, which touches our 40 millimeter radius circle. And then the 70 is going to bridge the link between the 40 and the 35 millimeter radius. So how do we do that? Well, we know this point here is the end. Nothing goes past here. So I'm going to actually start cleaning this up by trimming. So I'm going to hit TR to trim. That's the trim tool or the trim code, TR. Select the lines that I don't want. Select all the lines. And then once I go into the command, I can then select the lines I want to trim. So this is starting to look like we're getting somewhere now. Now, let's move on to the mathematics. At this point, this is where radius 35 starts. So we need to get to that point. How do we get to that point? We know that point is some distance from the edge, 40 millimeters, and I have this offset line that I've just highlighted, my 40 millimeter line. I'm going to be using that line to insert this 35 millimeter radius circle. So I'm going to come from the baseline here, and I'm going to offset up 35 millimeter. I'm going to do that. O to offset. 35 is the distance. And I'm going to do it on both sides. Hit C for circle. And I'm going to start a circle at this point and open it down to this edge. And that should be 35 millimeter. That is what that is. So I can just type that in, and that's 35 millimeter. And then what I can do is do the same thing on the other side. Open from this point and bring it back down here to this perpendicular line. I can match it by just snapping it in, or I can actually type in 35. I'm going to type in 35 to be more accurate at this time. So that is the this is this curve here. We only need this part of the 35 millimeter circle. All the rest we're going to, trim, but we'll get to that later on. Let's do another calculation. So we need to put in this 70 millimeter circle. But what do we have here? We have some numbers that we need to do some mathematics with. Looking at this diagram, we can see here on these 2 points that is where our circle starts. That is actually where the 70 circle, this is the axis points of our 70 millimeter circle or arc. So how do we get there? We need a location coming from this point, and we need a location coming from this secondary point here. I'm going to label these points A and B respectively. I'm going to call this point here where I've drew my first complete circle here A, and then my second circle, I'm going to call that B. So I'm going to go over to my to my text layer, and I'm going to insert some points. And I'm going to call this first point A. So I'm going to use the tool mtext, and the shortcut for that is MT. Create my text box, and I place A in it. So that's it. And I'm going to come over here and create my second text box, MT, and call that B. I'm going to move this slightly. Good. I think these are a bit too small, so I'm just going to increase the size from 3 to 5. Good. Now I'm going to match the property MA, match drop, select the B property and carry it over to the A, because I will also want to increase A. And B doesn't just occur here, B also occurs below. This is also B. All right, so I got in my A and I got in my B. So let's do the calculation. From A, I'm going to subtract 40 millimeters out of the 70 millimeter radius, because these are the two radii that I'm working with, 40 millimeter and then 70 millimeter. So I'm going to subtract 40 from 70, and when I do that, I get something like 30. So I'm going to come at the A, where A is, well, not A the letter, but I mean the point where the intersection point is, and create a circle, and that circle is going to be 30. That's my circle there. I'm going to leave them in the text layer so that we can distinguish this secondary part of the construction for now, and then I'm going to transfer everything into their appropriate layers. Okay, so from B, at B, point B, what am I going to do now to get this point here? Well, I'm going to add radius 35 to radius 70, and when I add the two of those, I get a number 105. So at B, I'm going to open my compass, hit C, enter, open my circle or compass, doesn't matter what you call it, to 105. And then what happens, it makes an intersection, and this would then be called my point C. And I will use point C to create the arc above. And then I need to create a point C2 to create the arc below. But for right now, let me just identify that as point C. So I'm going to copy my points over to this place and change B to C. And now from C, I can create my arc of 70 millimeter radius, which would actually interact with the 40 millimeter circle and the 35 millimeter circle. So let me do that to prove it. Let's see. Enter. Make sure I'm on the point, the intersection point. Open that and type in 70. There we have it. This circle interacts. If this is in tangent, and it's also in tangent. So all three of these are in tangent at this moment. Now, I'm going to do the opposite to create this point C2, because we need a point. Remember, we need two B's, and we also need two C's and one A. So there are many ways that I can do that. I can actually mirror this, or I can actually create the construction from this point. I think I'm going to mirror this right now so you guys can see me work with another tool. So to mirror this, I only want to mirror this circle. So I'm going to go MI, spelling out the first two letters in the word mirror. And that's usually the case when you want to work with shortcuts. You spell out the first two letters in the shortcut. MI for mirror, you see my mirror tool right there, all ready for me. Hit space bar. I select the object, which is just one object. Then I hit space bar because I'm finished with that. And I'm going to mirror this horizontally. So I'm going to start here at A, and I'm going to drag my mirror point to this place here. You just need to create some form of a horizontal line in mirroring this. Let me see, am I? Yeah. Ask me if I want to erase source object. I'm going to say no. Okay. So we have that in. And there we have it. So now I'm just going to trim this. So I'm going to hit TR to trim, and I'm going to select the whole thing. And I'm going to start trimming off the unnecessary bits that I don't want, which are there, 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 there. And you got to take your time with this procedure here, because sometimes people are in a hurry to trim, and they actually trim off bits and pieces that they need later on, and then they just can't see the shape once they've just trimmed off that one piece they didn't need to trim off. So please take your time here, and you can always be consulting your shape to the right. That's what I'm doing. And bits that you can't get trimmed, you would just delete. So don't worry about if you're trying to trim a line and it doesn't trim. Like, you know, like this line, it's not going to trim. I'll just delete that later on. Okay, I think that's pretty good. So I'm just manually cleaning up now by just going around and deleting, clicking on lines and deleting them. Now I can trim here, make this cleaner. So if we see, let's put this now together. This is the outline. So I'm going to place this in its rightful layer. 1, 2. So I'm just going to go over, place into outline 1, and then I'm going to match drop the rest. Okay, like that. Like that. Like that. It's a construction circle, and this circle is indicated that it is hidden because it's a dashed line. So I'm going to go for my hidden lines. Yeah, but it's only hidden up to this point. Then the rest, the rest of the circle isn't hidden. So what I'm going to do is just reproduce that circle right there. Just trimming, and I'm going to reproduce the circle there and trim the opposite side. We'll see for circle, and that is a 40. Alright, and I'm going to just trim the other side. Alright. And I know it's in the wrong layer, but I'll just transfer that when I'm finished here. Okay, good. Match drop this property to that layer. Okay, so we need to take out these lines. So we can I fillet this? No, I can't. I'm just going to trim from here. I'll use this line as my reference line. Trim. Right. So that's it. Oh, I can fillet F to fillet to create my 90-degree angle there. There to there. My 90-degree angle. Perfect. So these are our points to create our circle. And I think what I should do is just draw in my construction point that I was able to get to locate C. So I'm going to do that. So we came from B and we went out 105 millimeters, and that was able to get C at that point up there, and then 105 millimeters there, which will give me C down here. So I'm just going to place in my C again. Copy. I think I should bring the C a little closer so it reads better. Yeah, it's looking more like it. Now, that's the construction there. And look what's going to happen when I turn off my construction layer. Yeah, so you should see it. Yeah, it should look something like this. So this should be your final result. I hope you guys learned something new. You can subscribe to see more interesting tutorials. Thank you.